Lady Charmaine, and my guest today can be seen every weekday morning as the host of CNN's morning show, Starting Point. She's an author, journalist, and the host of the documentary Black in America. And she's here today to talk about the encore showing of the documentary, Who is Black in America?, airing this Saturday on CNN. Help me welcome Soledad O'Brien to the show. How you doing, Soledad, and welcome back to the show.
Hey, I'm great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, it is awesome to have you on the show because, one, I love your series, of course, Black in America, and I love the one you did on Blacks in Silicon Valley. So I really want to ask you this question. Where did the idea to focus on Blacks in America come from?
You know, originally it came from an interest to do an anniversary piece, a 40th anniversary piece on the assassination of Martin Luther King, which we did back in 2008. And from there, it was just such a popular series, frankly, that every year we've had an opportunity to go back and revisit the contributions, the struggles, the stories, the challenges, the victories of African Americans in this country.
Now, I know, Soledad, when I first saw you, I had no idea that you were actually African American. And then when I heard that you said you were African American, that you were Black, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's Black. I had no idea. Now, is that how the idea Who is Black in America kind of spun? Can you tell us how did that idea even come about?
No, not at all. I mean, these documentaries are really not based on my experience. And in fact, as a reporter, I kind of hate that because the documentary is certainly not about me. But that experience of having people say, girl, what are you? Or you're Black? What? I don't think you're Black. Or sometimes worse, well, you're not really Black, has certainly been something I've dealt with my entire life. But it's not about me. It's a story of young people in Philadelphia who have really been trying to figure out their racial identity at a time when more people are mixed race, if you look at the census, than ever before. And so it really is a story of the census numbers, and that comes across because of this program in Philadelphia, and it certainly is not launched off my own experience, although certainly my experience, I can add a lot because of my experience.
Why was this topic so important to you to even bring across?
Yeah, I think that there's not been a lot of conversation about colorism, because not only is it a story of sort of light-skinned people feeling like sometimes they're not considered to be Black, it's also the story of how we judge each other based on skin tone, whether we're light-skinned or dark-skinned, and how all of that, historically dates back to slave days, and it's valuing someone who's closer to, obviously, the slave master's color. So we really wanted to inform people and sort of educate them where this concept of colorism came from in the first place. That's really, what our overall agenda was.
Now, my husband had just watched a movie called Skin, and he told me, he said, you should mention that movie to her because you may have seen it. Have you seen the movie Skin?
I've heard about it, but I have never seen it. Mm-mm.
He told me that the movie was so powerful because it was a true story. And, it was a story of two Caucasian people. I guess a gene met up and they ended up having an African-American looking child. And so, of course, the child wasn't accepted in the African-American community nor in the Caucasian community. And I thought that was so interesting. And then the child, it was a female. She ended up growing up and, of course, marrying an African-American. Her parents ended up basically disowning her. And then her husband began to blame her of why all this trouble came on their family was because she was basically white, although she looked Black. Now, I was wondering if you had seen that movie.
No, that's fascinating. But it is sort of the question, right? I mean, the question we ask in this documentary is, who's Black and what makes you Black? Is it your skin color? Is it your culture? Is it what your parents are? Is it things like, you speak? I mean, that's certainly an interesting concept because that sort of touches on all the themes that we're trying to touch on.
Right. So what can people expect when they see this show? I read some of the commentary and I heard that some people were a little upset, but I know it does touch on some very touchy topics, and I want to commend you for bringing it up because who is Black in America? Because you have the light-skinned African American.
We never, I do think a good debate afterwards, especially in the day of social media and Twitter, it means you really no one's gotten your message. I think overall it's been really wildly successful. We've gotten mostly really great comments. And then I think there are some people who feel like it's either too painful. I mean, some of the issues, we show a woman, a teacher, who's teaching her students about colorism by, doing the paper bag test on them. Mm-hmm. We have another little girl who's 7 years old who tells her mother she wishes she was lighter skinned. I mean, these are reality, these are clips of what's really happening. These are snippets of people's lives. It's not a reality show and that we're making it up. So, I think that for us, it was really just to show a snippet of life and how people are dealing with these various issues around colorism and discrimination because of color. We have gotten great feedback. I did ratings-wise very, very well. And I think most importantly, it spurred a lot of conversation because these are sure things people don't talk about.
And it's so true because my daughter, I have two daughters. One is lighter skin, one is darker skin. They both have the same parents. One took after me, one took after my husband. And my daughter, who's darker skin, she gets teased a lot because she is darker skin. And it's amazing to me how even today in 2012, how cruel kids can be, even when it comes to color.
It was amazing. I mean, we are in a classroom with 7-year-olds where they're mean to each other around skin color. Mm-hmm. And people were stunned. They couldn't believe it's 7. Either the children were already sort of taking in messages about their skin tone and what's good, if you will, and what's bad. And then even that those kids were sort of, commenting on each other in mean ways. So I think you're absolutely right. When I asked the teacher, isn't it harsh to do a paper bag test on your students? She said, listen, they know. These children are having conversations about, good skin and good hair and dark skin and light skin. We need to show them that what they're really doing is internalizing colorism. They're internalizing historic discrimination based on skin color.
This is going to be so good. I want to remind everyone to make sure you watch the encore showing of Who is Black in America on CNN this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Standard Time. You don't want to miss it. Bring your kids in front of the television. We're all going to learn something on Saturday. Soledad, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I always appreciate it.
When is your next one? Before we go, when is your next Black in America after this one?
Oh, my goodness. We usually do one a year, so we're in the middle of shooting one about Black boys and achievement.
Because I want to make sure that everyone looks out for them, because if you don't watch CNN, a lot of times...
It won't happen for a year. I'll come back on in a year because we're in the middle of shooting it.
Okay, so next year you'll be back on and we'll be talking about it. But I want to thank you so much again, Soledad, and I'll be talking to you next year.
Likewise. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.